Where do we go?
This video feels like a good time to briefly remind you, my dear viewers,
Oh,
what this
fuck
channel is about.
off.
While it started out a lot more tongue-in-cheek, it quickly
Guys, already, like, I know what you're trying to do.
Like, we know this is what I mean. He knows he can't just say there's good things. He's like, okay, I get it. It's really bad.
I'm gonna predict this channel is about positivity and finding the goodness in all media, something that we can all relate to. We're in this together. We're like a team, you and me.
That's a part of his banner, right? He says that because like finding the good is more fun than the bad.
Things is more fun, not liking things. Yeah, that's his banner.
Well, I beg to differ.
He apparently agrees with the idea of objective criticism. That's in his Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom video. He says he thinks that screenplays and filming can be judged objectively, but he doesn't see the point.
It became obvious to me that bad movies had fans who enjoyed them unironically. So slowly, the bad thing, but I'm pretending it's a good shtick disappeared, and I went looking for more sincere points. Although you guys don't begrudge me a few here and there.
Why sincere?
I do argue.
Like, what makes the thing? How can you have sincerity about these things?
I guess what we were referencing, like the visuals. You could be sincere about how, well realized the visuals are.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, like, looking at it kind of fairly, even the worst movies bound to have some good moments in it somewhere. Like, there's bound to be something it's not horrendous, like, all the way through, so...
Yeah, they can't possibly fuck up everything.
Like, Mark Hamill portrayed the disheveled, cowardly fuck in TLJ really well. Like, he couldn't have done better, really.
You against and defend perceived problems, but unless I come right out and say it, the wins aren't about judging whether a movie is good or bad. That's just not what I'm interested in doing with this channel. My mission statement has become, every movie is at least one person's favorite, and I want to try to figure out the reasons why.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I actually think that's fair, but I don't think that's what he does.
Yeah, I think he made that up just now.
He's saying that this is all just opinions, it's all fun, and it's like, then he's going to argue against perceived flaws. That's the thing. He literally says, I argue against perceived flaws, but I'm not judging whether a film's good or bad. It's like, why would you even argue against the flaws then? Why wouldn't you just say, why wouldn't you just try to find or enjoy?
Perceived flaws.
At least have the cojones to say they're actually flaws, not perceived flaws.
Then we come to the rise of Skywalker.
And my scale broke. It's bad. Like, okay, we did it.
I've been convinced movies can be shit.
Because, there's few out there that could be definitive in terms of convincing someone, but Rise of Skywalker is definitely one of the candidates where you're like, surely this one, you could notice how stupid this is, right? And people are like, yeah, mostly.
And I'm that person. Okay, favorite is a big word, but my point is that I'm making this video for me.
Oh, no.
He liked it.
Oh, he liked it. He liked it.
Which is fine.
Which is fine.
It's fine.
Guys. It's
Everybody
fine.
put your guns down.
You almost
it's
had
okay.
us, man. You almost had us.
I picture EFAP chat raising like a minigun. We're like, it's okay. He can like it. It's okay.
Calm down, everyone.
Enjoyed this movie. And if one more person feels like they can be honest about enjoying it after this as well, that's it.
Be honest about enjoying it. Like, that's the crusade here. It's like, you gotta get this video out, because there's someone out there in a group of friends who's like, I wish I could admit I like this film, but I can't.
I have to make this video so that Matt Jarbo knows he's not the only one of the rise.
People are afraid to like it and say they like it, and it's like, now that this video's out, like, I can say I like it. I'm freed. It's just,
I know all kinds of groups of friends and cultures are different, but like, if I enjoy what I can tell is a shitty movie, I really have no problem telling people that. I'll be like, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was goofy. It was the explosions and lasers were enough for me. That sort of shit. But guess not. He needs to get this video out there to encourage those who enjoyed it to be honest about that. Don't hide.
One more person feels like they can be honest about enjoying it after this as well, that's it. That's what I'm here for. Well, they're just coming right out with it. He's back. It seems like your enjoyment of this movie could very easily boil down to that one plot point because so much hinges on it.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad start for a lot of people. If you didn't already know that he's coming back from like the marketing, and you were just like, what? What?
Kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal.
Man, I never even thought of that. Imagine going into this film not knowing that Palpatine was back, and they just say that in the fucking title crawl. You're like, oh.
You're like, Wait, what? What the
Where did
fuck?
this come from?
Like how? But he exploded twice.
Twice.
2 times.
I mean, you'd think if they were going to pull something like this, like they would have kept it completely and totally secret and slowly built up to it, like throughout the movie,
like
so that it
loads of
lays the
hints.
groundwork, establishes lots of reasons why he might potentially still be alive, and then finally hit you with it. And it might have sort of worked, but to just launch straight into it, you could tell how desperate they were to generate some kind of interest with this movie.
They are ripping off that band-aid, just getting it over with. The Dead Speak. It's done.
He's alive.
Don't think about it.
He's
Don't
alive.
think about
He's
it.
back.
Remember Palpatine? Yeah, he's alive. Anyway, moving on. So they have to get these McMuffins, and you're like, "What? No."
Anyway,
Wait, hold on, back
hey,
up.
Star Wars. Millennium Falcon.
I guess I'd say pretend for a watch through that it's what you wanted and see how you feel.
Pretend it's what you wanted and see how you feel.
So
Can you just say that about any movie, no matter how terrible? Like,
So let's talk
you know,
about feelings.
pretend you wanted to see Luke Skywalker reduced to a sad, pathetic old man living on an island who gets his ass beat by Rey,
Now,
and
feel
then
like I'm
the rest of the
pretending.
movie just falls into place.
so this, we say this a lot, we get hyperbolic. This might be the worst argument that's ever been on EFAB. It's a fundamentally the worst thing I've ever seen. It's feel like you want it and maybe you'll like it. Like, wow.
This is basically fake it till you make it,
Like,
And to like it.
but with your own feelings. Like you're trying to trick yourself into. What makes it so bad is the fact that it's spoken very earnestly. Just pretend that the thing around which the entire plot hinges on is actually something that you want, and then watch the movie like that and see how you feel.
I'm trying to think of, like, if someone said, maybe if you go for a shit and then rewatch the film, maybe you'll like it more. That's a better argument than this. That's where we're at. That's like the lowest argument ever. And as Drinker said, you could literally say this about every single thing ever. Pretend it's what you want, and then see how you feel. Of course you're going to feel differently if you feel that you want it. Like, what?
Honestly, I'm going to do this the next time I mug someone. I'll just be like, look, pretend that this is what you wanted, and don't press charges against me.
Yeah, see how you feel. Imagine this is what you wanted.
How do you even
and
do that?
all of a sudden,
Like, you turn it on, you're like, I want Palpatine, I want Palpatine, I want Palpatine. And then you see it come up in the title call, and you're like, no, it's still not working.
Yes! It's a win!
I can imagine someone sitting down, gritting their teeth. I want this. This is something I want.
This is essentially the shh. No. Just let it happen. Just let it happen. Shh.
Yeah.
Just let it happen.
Put a finger on their mouth, sort of thing. And yeah, the logic here of just being like, I am going to defend perceived flaws and highlight what people liked about it. First argument out of the gate. Pretend it's good.
Pretend you like it.
Pretend that you thought it was good. Like, man, if maybe this was in the end of the video, like, I'd be like, well, at least you got everything out of the way, you know, in terms of actual arguments first. But it's like, nope, this is where we're beginning. All right.
This is the most desperate thing I think anybody has ever said on every frame of pause.
Of course, this is where it would be, though, for Rise of Skywalker, right? That's the film that you pull this out for. Like, this is the ultimate argument. I'm going to use it.
Pretend this is what you wanted. See how you feel. Wow.
Just assume it's a troll. It's like, no.
Nope. It's Cinewoods. Just pretend it's what you wanted.
This should really be in the trailers, actually, for the movie. Like, pretend this movie is what you wanted. And then
Well, that should be in the title crawl.
Just Luke's...
Pretend this is what you wanted.
Luke is commentating, right? Like, he says, like, no one's ever really gone. Then they have a bunch of action scenes, and he's like, pretend it's what you wanted.
It wouldn't be Star Wars without a big monster of some kind.
What? All right. Sure.
Huh?
Yeah.
I
That's
saw
what Star
a
Wars
big
is known
monster
for.
and I
Sure.
clapped. Why?
Another new Force ability for the movies, but you probably noticed that Rey's been reading the old texts, and you really think the Jedi didn't have a
Don't fucking go there.
Okay. First off, typo. Second off, there is no fucking way that if this wasn't something they knew how to do, they wouldn't be using it all the time.
How would the Jedi in the prequels not know about this? What? Those books predate, like, all of the Jedi from ever, and it's just like, oh, it's just there's this thing in there called Force healing, by the way.
Do you want to learn this? Oh no, that wouldn't ever be
Also,
useful for a protector of the galaxy.
This is what I mean about the whole logic is his friend and logic is his enemy. He's like, can I explain through logic that she's the only one who knows about forced healing? It's like, well, I guess if we say that the book is the only way you could have known, and the book has been, you know, like out of commission or availability since way before the prequels even happened. There we go. And it's like logic is in the room again. Like, hey, I'm helping explain. And then we're like, well, hang on a minute. How could that possibly be the case? And why would the 10,000 year, you know, Jedi rule not have any idea that force healing exists? That's ridiculous. And the second that happens, he's like, no, logic, get out of the house. Go.
Logic's like, nope, my Pop-Tarts are done. I gotta go get them before they get cold again.
I like to think that there's some horrible side effects to doing this, like force healing. Like you can heal someone, but it gives you cancer or something. Like.
I mean, I'd be cool. That's probably how I would want to do it. You can't heal a mortal wound. You can only heal wounds in general that could necessarily maybe kill you if you were left alone for a while, but it'll make your nose bleed, or you'll be weak after doing it for a while, that sort of thing.
You just say it takes a long time to do, a lot of concentration, so it can't be done in combat or stressful scenarios. It's you know, you can put all these limitations on it. Instead of just, oh yeah, Rey can just heal this monster. Here.
And she knew that if she did that, it would give them a way out. It's like, oh.
The monster is probably going like, why the fuck are you touching me?
How did it...
Aren't you? You should be afraid of me. Blah.
It was a particularly intelligent monster. The fact that it stayed still while she did this, and then after she did it, it was like, thanks, bro.
You are a Palpatine.
Okay, more on this in part 2, but I think a lot of us saw this coming.
You didn't? I don't think any of us fucking saw this coming.
What do you mean we saw this coming?
Yeah, I think a lot of us saw Rey being Palpatine's granddaughter. We all knew it was gonna. It definitely wasn't pulled out of the writers' assholes randomly one day. No, totally makes sense. And if you didn't see it coming, you're an idiot, and you need to learn about filmmaking.
And I see it as part of a middle-of-the-road answer to 2 questions. Why is she badass? And how's she nobody? The other part is Finn having force powers. Being a Jedi is still open to anyone, but to play in this story that's always been about bloodlines, you gotta have one.
Okay, sure. Okay. What was Mace? I guess Mace Windu had a bloodline, and Yoda has a bloodline.
The Windu bloodline and the Da bloodline, because his first name is Yo.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's how they'd say that was his name was Da. And people would always be like, yo, Da! And he'd be like, here I am.
Wait, at that point, if his name was Da, then his first name would be D and his second name would be A, I guess.
Odito Da.
And yeah, he's part of the A family. That's the bloodline. It makes total sense.
Oh, I love that little force brace. Force brace. Is that a new force ability?
I don't know.
I mean, he's just using the force to not be blown away. It's just counteracting a force push, if you will. A push of force on him. Yeah, why am I even bothering?
Okay, so the dagger lining up generally does work, because 3PO does say...
From the southern shore.
No!
No. No.
Where on that?
No. You know that
do you have any... Yeah, southern shore of what? And do you have any idea how big an area that is?
That's half.
There's a lot of ground.
That's a shore. That's not... Oh, it makes sense. What the hell? Why does he keep doing this?
But this is a stretch.
Oh, thank goodness. He still thinks it's a stretch. It's not actually a stretch, it's just broken, but he's calling it a stretch, so...
At least we're good. At least we got that far.
Yeah.
Okay, defense of the indefensible. The Death Star was built to exist in space, therefore any elements within an atmosphere, including crashing waves, aren't going to erode the outer...
No, it's not. It's not even necessarily about that. It's the fact that it's always shifting. The place in which it is staying, that it's become static. The waves are moving around, which means it's not going to be able to settle properly. We're not saying, like... And even... How do you even make this claim? Like, oh, it's strong in space, therefore it can deal with waves. Like, first of all, water and space are two very different things. Secondly, all the damage it would have sustained when coming into atmosphere.
This is post-explosion, post-re-entry into a planet's ocean. This Death Star has been through a lot, I feel. Also, I need to use the lube. Carry on without me. Talk about how dumb the scene is.
We're led to believe that that knife was carved actually not shortly. I rewatched the scene from there, and you can see those little carvings are in the knife in the flashback where he kills Rey's parents. So you're like, this was probably done 30 years ago, and it's like there's been no shift in that material. It just he carved it at that specific time.
I suppose we're supposed to ignore the fact that we saw this thing get like obliterated, vaporized, like. But yeah, ignoring that, lucky the room that they needed survived, I guess.
I just love that there's glass in the windows. That's always amused me ever since I saw it in the trailers. There's glass in the window of that thing. How is that entire throne room not completely obliterated?
It's so lucky that it happens to be oriented correctly as well. Like it's not upside down or underwater or something like that. It's just like perfectly positioned so that you can walk around inside it.
It would actually be more interesting, wouldn't it, if it was underwater? It would be a struggle to get to this thing. But nope, it's as easily as floating over, and the door even opens up for you, and nobody has checked this. She's the first person in 30 years to do so.
Yeah, like nobody might be interested in what the Emperor's throne room was like, or whether there might be interesting artifacts to recover. Nothing. Just leave it. It's fine.
Shell, and the idea is that it's so massive, nothing's going to shift its position. So 30 years later...
That's not how that works. The bigger you are, it means that you're not going to fucking... The weight of this thing, and having been so structurally damaged, means that it's like there's a huge likelihood it's all just going to collapse. But no, it's because it's big that it doesn't fall apart. That's how that works.
Later, the dagger might still line up. Too close to call.
Oh, he actually didn't give it a win. Cool.
He said it was the indefensible, so I'm like, okay, sure.
Why even bother?
You're reaching, I'm glad you admit that.
Sound design of the hollowed-out giant space station is on point again, and for me, this whole jaunt to the Wayfinder is another tour of Shadow Moses years later.
See, this is the thing. Someone will be like, don't you think you should celebrate good sound design? And I'm like, yeah, but when you're like desperately clawing at that as why the film is good, you're probably in trouble.
That's a point that he repeats a lot.
Vader's Imperial March.
Why the fuck is it now? I agree with
it. Doesn't make any... That scene is between two Skywalkers. That's the point of that music. And inside of this, it's like, it's not... It should have been like an Emperor theme or something like that. It's misplaced.
How do you put that here? Like, I just don't get it. What is the justification for putting that here? It's like, I like the song. You're like, oh. Okay.
Only on strings from when Luke took his mask off. Am I the only one who can smell dead Death Star?
That's all he did, by the way. He highlighted where that song is from. That's it.
It's jangling keys, and you win it because of that. So it worked.
Is that door open because she's a Palpatine? It was clearly a...
What? The door opened because she's a Palpatine? What is scatogenetics? It was like, you're a Palpatine. You can come
how is there even any... Yeah, how's there any electricity still?
What do you mean?
How does any of this stuff function?
It's powered by her being a Palpatine.
Secret room, after all. Alright, probably not what you were picturing, but there's the double-sided saber you all asked for.
Did you guys ask for a double-sided lightsaber? Did one of us? I don't remember.
Right. One, I think, and it's just like, okay, sure.
I certainly didn't ask for one that folds out like a pocket knife.
I love ER noting that like she came up with that design for her dark side dream. She came up with the Swiss Army lightsaber blade.
It's so embarrassing.
It's a terrible design. It does not make any sense at all. It's so tactically useless.
And it seemed to me that there was two camps when that trailer came out. One was, oh, so cool, and the other was, what? Why would anyone?
Like, the crossguard lightsaber is controversial enough, but, like, that thing just does not make any sense at all. It's like, in no reality would that be helpful in combat.
It took death and more sacrifice to bring Ben Solo back. This isn't meant to be as complicated as I've seen people make it.
It's not supposed to be as complicated as people make it seem. Nobody understands what the fuck is happening in this scene. Everybody has a different interpretation. They're like, oh, Leia possessed Ben to prevent him from killing Rey. Rey killed Leia. That's the favorite one, I think, that everybody should go with, because that's hilarious. Then you got, Leia is Han. I've seen people say that. She's the one who, like, summoned him, and she's, like, controlling this to make him feel better. Or, she actually, like, showed up. She was, like, a few meters back and was like, hey, Ben. Then he turned around, he was like, oh, shit. And then she disappeared, because that's all she could do. Or she was like, oh, shit, when the lightsaber goes through him. She was like...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'll come back when you're done.
Yeah, I was like, oh, whoops.
Oh, I fucked this one up.
And yeah, so loads of, like, I know that, I'm pretty sure when we discussed it, like, post having seen the movie, we were all just like, I'm not entirely sure of what this was. Like, 100%.
It was really weird the way the editing was, and it was just confusing.
It reeks of like the script needed a bunch of different things to happen at this point in the movie. It's like we've run out of footage to use of Carrie Fisher, so we need Leia to die. We need Ben to start his turn back to the light side, and we need Rey to part company with him so she can go off and do her thing. And we need to him to potentially win a fight, so he's still somewhat of a viable antagonist at that point, and then Rey to beat him after all. So it's like, what's the easiest way to make all that stuff happen? Fuck it, this is all we've got.
Yoda blew up the tree with Force lightning, Luke projected himself across the galaxy, and now Luke catches the lightsaber. We know that Ahch-To is an important place for the Force.
Oh, here we go. The excuse is, hey, it's a Force place. That's why they could do all these powers.
Yeah, it's a Force place.
So it stands to reason, strong Force location, strong Force ghost powers?
Jedi's weapon deserves more respect.
But that's not even strong Force powers. Like, it's not a matter of, it's like, ooh, instead of being able to do some minor things, Yoda can now cast lightning. It's like, no, it's kind of binary. It's the fact that he can do anything at all.
Yeah, that's a big deal. We have crossed the line.
Yeah.
They are now physical objects that exist in very real space. That can cast lightning and hit people on the head.
Yeah, the only thing they do in the OT is they talk to people. They will only talk to people and give people advice. People say him like phasing through, going through the grass counts as touching things or sitting on the log. It's like, you got to be kidding me. That's just, it's just a representation of a form. It's not them physically. Like, they can't punch people in the OT.
I feel that their relationship goes beyond romantic, though. They have like a spiritual connection that probably doesn't have an equivalent for us. Kylo and now Ben has always been drawn to her, and her to him as well.
He's always been drawn to her?
That's it? We're just...
What?
Oh.
Right. And it gets a ding, too?
It's like a kiss of gratitude. Did you read that article?
A spiritual kiss.
Yeah, it wasn't a romantic kiss.
You see how easy it is to drop in vague stuff like that and not qualify it with anything?
Yeah,
they were drawn to each other. That's fine. Moving on.
Ding. People make the ding meme about Cinema Sins. It's like, it's applicable to Cinema Wins, too. He just dings random shit.
Yep. Honesty.
Baby steps.
Also, baby steps. What do you mean? They removed it for the places that aren't gonna sell well if they have it in there.
Yeah.
What? Baby steps. It's reversing steps. There are plenty of movies that have lesbian relationships or gay relationships in them. They're like, well, better not put it full screen, otherwise we can't sell our movie in certain places.
The Rise of Skywalker is a horrible failure for it.
I'm partially insulted by referring to that as baby steps when it was almost slimy, like the way that they're trying to be like, hey, we're inclusive. Don't put it in.
But not for China. But not for China.
Make sure it's only enough that we can cut it out. Bullshit.
Writers can retcon reasons in so that it all makes sense, but establishing this Force power later messes up the past. Does that mean A New Hope is now bad?
No, it means that
Jedi
one
bad?
aspect of it means whoever
I love this
created
argument.
the fault. Whoever created the fault is the one who should, who's responsible for making the fault. Does it make the whole thing bad? No. And I'm of the opinion that if you're going to talk about objectivity, stick to the individual aspects. Don't worry about is the entire movie as a whole objectively good or bad. Does it cross that line? Stick to the little bits. Stick to all the pieces, stick to all the details, and run that through.
It fascinates me. Like he seems on board with this, but like it just.
And he highlighted one problem, and then he's like, "Now let's go nuts." Did it break everything? And it's like, well, why are you? Where are we going with this?
He
knows full well that there's like 1 billion problems with the sequel trilogy compared to the OT, and he's like, yeah, but the OT still has some, so they're equal, right?
If he's using this metric for the OT, you'd imagine he'd know how to use it for the sequels.
Yeah, but he liked them.
Why
they made him feel stuff.
New Hope. I've already answered that. The lack of planning is and was a problem. I'm just not convinced it's as easy to fix as we'd all like it to be. After that, I think the biggest...
It's easy to do fucking better than what they did. We're not necessarily saying it'll end up perfect or anything. However, the idea of like how easy is it to make Disney, create some kind of plan or whatever, it's like, yeah, I mean, they probably shot themselves in the foot with how they organize everything, sure. But that doesn't mean it changes what we think it is. Or what it is, sorry.
biggest thing that hurts this movie is pacing. I know that some people would argue that it's writing, and the writing has some problems for sure, but it's the breakneck pacing that makes the actual plotting
it's the
scene.
dumb, convoluted plot that makes it worse. Like when it's just MacGuffin after MacGuffin.
That's why the pacing is as it is, because they're always having to do this thing and go to this place and get that thing,
like
and fall in that pit and climb that mountain and scale this tower and all doing all this stuff.
If you introduce that many plot elements within a set period of time, the pacing's going to be dictated by that. There's so much shit you have to do.
You're going to be busy. You got shit to do, and
even
fast.
Worse, that can ruin a theater experience. Like I just said, I love the entire scene starting with Rey and Kylo's fight through to Ben throwing Kylo's saber into the ocean. But it all happens in 8 minutes, and that's with other quick scenes being intercut. It took me 3 minutes to explore what was happening in the scene.
You did a bad job.
It took him 3 minutes to explore that scene.
Wow.
That's staggering.
I hope you didn't, calm down, mate.
Yeah.
Chillax.
Sit down.
Leave some for the rest of us.
Obviously, I didn't have all my thoughts fleshed out about that scene before the next scene started. Like I just said earlier, it was still coming into focus more for me after I published part 1. So rushing through so much plot, so much, and then this happens makes it hard to process. It's easy for me to brush it off in favor of a fun theater experience.
So now he's saying like a big problem with the trilogy is that its pacing isn't great. It's like, what? Can we get back to the writing?
I know it's a lot harder for others. Everyone has those moments in theaters when something happens and you just can't get past it. I think people had a few of those in Rise of Skywalker. So then that ruins any emotional impact the movie could have. Something I do in favor of having a good theater experience is make that a problem for future Lee to figure out. Which sounds silly, I know, but to be honest, for a long time as a somewhat cynical high schooler, I could barely sit through any movie without questioning things and ruining my own experience. Just asking simple questions that usually had answers, but because I missed something or didn't know, I let it get under my skin.
I'm sorry, what is it? So he's willing to assume that whenever he had a problem, it was because he missed something rather than the problem existing, and that we should all just, whenever we detect a problem, be like, hey, there's probably an answer for that, just enjoy.
But I can't... But that's not how brains work.
No, it's not. Well,
I can't just say don't think about it.
This is coming from the guy who said, why don't you pretend that you like it?
That's not a thing you could do. I mean, I guess you could pretend in an outward way to try and convince other people, but you can't fool yourself like that.
No.
Why would you even want to? Like, you either like something or you don't. I don't ever understand the utility of trying to force yourself to like something that you didn't. What do you achieve by that?
You convince yourself of it, or you're actually convinced by something, or else it's just it's meaningless. You can say the word, but there's nothing there.
I mean, we watch movies to be entertained. If they don't entertain us, then they're not doing their job. And it's like a movie doesn't serve a higher purpose than that.
Well, as he's about to say, he made a concerted effort to stop doing it, and now his brain immediately goes, oh, but maybe there's something more at stake. You see? If you turn off that cynical part of your brain, lads, you'll start enjoying movies more.
I agree that if I stop using my brain, more things will make sense. Yes. And on that, we agree.
Like this line of nonsense where it's like, stop thinking so hard. It's like, I'm not gonna take this from anybody. It's just never gonna work.
I'm not gonna stop thinking.
The idea that I might find it more meaningful if I think less. It's like, fuck off.
If I feel a certain way, that's the trouble with the whole Palpatine thing of just pretend you like it. It's like, I'm not going to pretend that I feel a different way than I do.
At some point, I made a concerted effort to stop doing that, and now my brain immediately goes, oh, but maybe there's more at stake, and the risk of all-out war with the humans wasn't worth it to Elrond.
Oh boy, here's... Okay, so he just said that that's a flaw. He's like why didn't Elrond fight him and bring Isildur to the
king of the humans? So at that point, anyways, his dad had died.
I always thought he respected his decision. It was on him because he was the person who bared the ring, and it was like he wasn't going to force that, right?
Well,
I think that's
he's probably quite a formidable warrior in his own right, and you couldn't necessarily just push him in without him fighting back and potentially killing you.
That's what he said there as well, is risk a war if he was to kill him. But
Elrond walks out, and everyone's like, "Wait a second, two people walked in. Elrond, where's our king?"
I don't know if he's saying people say this is a flaw in the film. I don't think it is. If that's what he's saying, I'm like there. I
hope not. It'd be really awkward if he was.
movie. And then I watch it again later to find out that my theory was at least marginally supported or entirely proven, or...
Wait, what is this? Side note, I miss IMDb message boards so much. That was the first place I would go after seeing a movie in theaters to see what people thought about the things I thought. You can still do that, like, everywhere.
Yeah, that's the internet still does exist, by the way.
I was wrong, and it's a genuine problem. In Rise of Skywalker, I was hyper aware as the credits rolled that we never came back to what Finn wanted to tell Rey. And after thinking about it and rewatching it, it made sense to me that it was about her bloodline. That doesn't excuse setting that up, coming back to it multiple times, and then dropping it. It's either bad writing, which I doubt for this specific instance.
So Finn was going to tell her that she was the Palpatine?
Yep.
It's all an inference, though. Like,
how does he know?
Why is he arguing this? He's arguing this as if it makes sense, but he's completely inferred that. He said, like, it's about his bloodline. It's like, what reference do you have?
How does Finn know that Rey's Palpatine?
Yeah, and why would he be like, ooh, I don't want to tell you now? I don't see. This is the thing. It's like a classic when it's like, there's something I wanted to tell you when you're about to die, which is, I love you, that sort of thing. And then when you're not dead, everyone's fine. It's like, what were you going to tell me? It's like, oh,
like,
nothing at all.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's we all know this one.
Rey, I'm force sensitive. Why are you telling this to me?
So wasn't it JJ? Didn't he say that he was gonna?
He was gonna tell her he's force sensitive. That is apparently what he was gonna say.
That's what I thought.
Really pretty competent when it comes to paying something simple like this off. It's an easy way to make it seem like your story is all connected, even if it isn't. For this, I have to assume it was cut because it didn't have the impact they wanted or just didn't matter anymore at the end. And something that happens a lot when making movies is that your setups get intertwined with the vital parts of the plot or story, so you're left with a choice. Cut the setup that has a lackluster...
Let's invent several scenarios in which it was a reasonable thing to do that led to this perceived flaw. That's what he's trying to say right now.
Like, there's reasons for this, and I guarantee that's exactly it. I'm guessing in the editing room, it got left on the cutting room floor.
But like,
it doesn't excuse it.
Of the top 500 issues this film has, that one's not even up there. Like, the idea that Finn never got to say what he was trying to say. It's like, yeah, I mean, there are way bigger issues in this film.
It's okay.
What are you gonna say, Drinker?
No, it doesn't matter. It's kind of gone past it anyway.
Payoff and potentially break your entire story by losing something vital to everything making sense, or leave the setup in, your story intact, and just try to Jedi mind trick the audience into forgetting about this.
It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing.
That's not something that should be encouraged.
Very bad.
What a horrible message to send to your audience. Hey guys, when it fucks up, just try and trick them.
Okay.
Ooh, scene, fast, quick.
Set up with fast pacing, fast talking, and fast cameras. But, speaking of my theater experience, full disclosure, I went into this movie thinking there was a very good possibility the final twist of the saga, which would have been bold to say the least, was that Ben would be redeemed and Rey would fall to the dark side.
I had no doubt. I don't think there was any way they would have done that.
I don't see how you can make Rey fall to the dark side. I don't see how you do it.
I don't think that from a Disney marketing Star Wars perspective, they would do that. And I think that's way too bold for them to do. Also, I think that would be way too interesting, despite how nonsensical it'd be. So they definitely wouldn't do that. There's no way. I had no thought about that.
Could have been a good story if they'd done it right, and actually done it across all three movies.
Yeah.
I think most people were for the idea that Finn would become a Jedi and that Rey would turn to the dark side, and you'd have a bit of a crossover there. Like that could be like Rey would evolve into the villain, but
saves the girl.
Could have been.
Disgusting.
I had two theories.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of the villain gradually turn into the light and the hero gradually turn into the dark.
Sure.
You know, you could do stuff with it.
A straight up switcheroo. I knew that was an unlikely way to end the saga, so theory 2 was that Rey would deliberately embrace the Emperor, knowing that Ben could kill her, him, all the Sith, and restore balance. So like a sacrificial turn to the dark side. And all of this was informed by the
turning to the dark side.
Not really, no.
I feel like it's I feel like it's like
if it's required that you believe like in the dark side and want to embrace it, then that wouldn't work with it. Because you'd be like, yeah, totally.
You'd have to fool Palpatine into thinking that you had turned to the dark side, but I feel like he'd be able to be like, no, you're not.
insane amount of negativity that I'd heard in the days leading up to seeing it in theaters. That's right, I knew people were pissed, so I assumed Rey had to die and or turn bad. I was prepared for that. So in the end, the more straightforward conclusion was a relief for me. I already said I didn't love bringing the Emperor back, but I pretty quickly shrugged and moved on.
You told yourself that you wanted it, and then you liked it, right?
So when Rey chooses her mentor's bloodline over her genetic one...
You can't choose a bloodline. That doesn't make any sense.
She is still a Palpatine?
Yes, she is a Palpatine.
The blood still exists inside of her. She could call herself whatever she wants. Just because you call yourself... I know this will trigger people, but you can't just call yourself something and you're that thing.
Wow. You just triggered me.
That's all right.
Even though it is another powerful family, it's still the answer to her life without a home. The truth is, she's still just Rey, or Rey from nowhere, because there aren't any non-Force Ghost Skywalkers left.
So she's got...
The message is still choose your place.
She's got no Skywalkers to mooch off, is what you say. It's like, oh well.
Yeah.
Just Rey from nowhere.
The message is still choose your place.
You mustn't allow yourself to be chained to fate, to be ruled by your genes.
Yeah, it's not an uncommon message in a lot of media. Not the thing. The idea that TLJ introduced this shit is so frustrating.
Yeah, like you're not defined by your past. Like plenty of stories have that.
All 9 movies will be movies I can go back to and enjoy, and I know that'll be true for lots of people. The good guys win, and even some of the bad guys turn good. Honestly, the 5 minutes of Ben Solo in this movie, given his characterization and the rest of the trilogy, is one of my favorite moments in Star Wars.
Oh, it's one of his favorite moments. All right. Good stuff.
I think it's super, super pathetic.
Redemption is a story I'll always love, and these movies are made to make you feel things.
They can still like Star Wars in public. The good ones, not the shitty new ones.
Desperate. He wrote that down. These movies are made to make you feel things.
I'm so convinced. I am convinced.
Wow, I guess it was nerd stuff in the 70s and 80s too, so just full circle. Oh well. You'll have your secret Star Wars love subreddits. They'll have Saltier Than Crate. Although Saltier Than Crate is pretty funny, so it's still worth going there too. Be thankful that you never take any movie so seriously.
It actually isn't at all. The sequel memes are really crap.
No, Saltier Than Crate is the anti-sequel subreddit.
Oh, okay. Okay, then I'm confusing them. So whichever one is the sequel meme subreddit, maybe it's just called
I think it's called sequel memes, yeah.
It's a sequel memes. That one is shit. The sequel memes are generally really terrible. They're not good to meme, and a lot of them are super fucking preachy, and they're very bitter about defending these movies. Prequel memes is hilarious. So
all my lightsabers are red. Shad, that's evil. You should know better. You're not allowed to have evil lightsabers.
Yeah, those are evil.
It ruins the past for you, and if this movie did ruin the past for you, I'm not saying I'll never do a Star Trek Nemesis video, but I'll admit now that it's filled with completely different characters from TNG, a completely different tone, and pretends like most of TNG didn't happen. But it didn't ruin Star Trek.
Just define ruin then, because everybody defines it differently. You know that's the point.
It's just a fun, dumb movie with more Picard chest hair.
Just a fun, dumb movie, man.
Yeah, it's just just have fun with the dumb.
Nothing can be bad. I'm getting those vibes. Nothing can be bad.
And you better believe that I've got a defense for the Dune Buggy sequence. It's called Patrick Stewart Gets to Do What He Wants. Oh.
Is Star Trek the best place to end a Star Wars video? Yeah, I think so.
I don't.
Okay. Well, thanks for sticking around for that.
Brought that into the equation.
It was cathartic to get it all out.
Right, well, that was worthless.
It was cathartic to get it all out. It's like, it really felt like a rambling mess, but I'm glad you got it out of that system.
Oh, I hope it's clear that my intention wasn't to prove the original trilogy was bad. It was.
I don't know, man.
Did a really bad job
at that. You shouldn't have to say that if that wasn't your intention. It's because it seems that way because you saw so much POT.
Why would people get that impression?
It's like he knows. He knows that people will get that impression because he kept talking about the original trilogy. Dude,
it was to make it easier for you to laugh when someone starts to try to list off all the concrete reasons for why you shouldn't like the sequel trilogy.
No one's saying that.
Just tell them to watch the OT again and be sure they get why they like Star Wars. And if you still hate the sequel trilogy, Also, just go watch the OT because it's still there. Or The Mandalorian. Or Clone Wars. I hear that's good. Seriously, Clone Wars is amazing. Don't blame me. I'm sorry. By the way, I totally lied about next week's video being 10 years old. It's 5 years old. What's time anyway? Am I right? Take care. Be nice to each other in the comments.
No. Yeah, by the way, stop watching argument for like just the OT's there, so just watch the OT, you know.
Take care, Cinema Wins.
Stop watching these movies.
Everybody, don't be mean to him. There we go. We did it. All 3 videos are done.
Whew.
That exhausted me. This video is something special.
So, if I don't know, it's like if you were to rate them, it feels like Cinema Wins is below Sins at this point.
Yeah, Wins is beneath Sins. Sins is for how terrible the content is. It's actually better.
Yeah, like I think Cinema Sins is inaccurate more often. Like frequently he will make mistakes and they'll just be like, well, this is explained in the movie. With him, it's the reaching. It's all the reaching and all the bizarre conclusions that he comes to. It's like, that's the thing I hate. It's like he says things like they're matter of fact. I'm like, dude, you need to have more concrete evidence and you shouldn't just be making all these random inferences.
It's interesting to me, as weird as this sounds, I feel like Sins is more consistently just sludge, while this is like, he's not sure of his actual identity when making these videos. I don't think he knows.
This one's a wee bit nutty.
He doesn't know what he's really trying to achieve. He feels like he's all over the place.
And like, that's my other trouble too, is people love him. Like, I swear, Cinema Sins has become the punching bag of YouTube. People just assume he's bad. There's so many people who have made videos. I don't think anyone has made an everything wrong with everything great about video. Like people, the internet just eats him up. They're just like, yay, he's good. He's happy. Cinema Sins.
That's the nature of being positive, quote unquote, versus being negative.
You're allowed to be positive and inaccurate. You're not allowed to be negative and inaccurate.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Hello, you just listened to a segment of the podcast Every Frame a Pause, or EFAP. Hosted by YouTubers Mauler, Rags, and Fringy, and joined by a cycling variety of guests across the internet, they critically analyze media with exhaustive detail while pausing at every single frame. Subscribe to the EFAP channel and catch new episodes on Saturdays, as well as catch their smaller videos reacting to the latest and not-so-greatest movies and TV shows throughout the week. You can also subscribe here to EFAP Highlights for the latest shorts, clips, and supercuts, also uploaded throughout the week. Links to all the relevant channels can be found in the description section below, as well as links to their communities on Reddit and Discord. Thanks for watching.